What if the strongest nation on earth was not the one with the biggest army, but the one with the deepest peace? What if true power was not in destroying enemies, but in rising so high in wisdom, courage, and self control that war itself began to look small? That is the divine vision behind these profound words of Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda is telling us something very beautiful and very necessary for this world. He is saying that the greatest nation will not be the one that rules through fear. It will not be the one that threatens, dominates, or constantly prepares for violence. The greatest nation will be the one that can remain free, strong, and independent while still choosing peaceful methods. This is not weakness, this is not passivity, this is not surrender, this is a higher kind of strength. Because anyone can react with anger, anyone can answer hatred with hatred, anyone can build walls of suspicion, revenge, and pride. But it takes a far greater power to stand firm without cruelty, to protect without hatred, and to lead without violence in the heart. Yogananda's message is not only political, it is deeply spiritual. He is reminding us that peace is not just a treaty signed on paper. Peace is a state of consciousness, and when that consciousness enters the heart of a people, it begins to shape the destiny of a nation. A peaceful nation is not merely a land without battlefields. It is a nation guided by restraint, wisdom, justice, and moral courage. It is a nation that refuses to let fear become its god. Why does Yogananda call such a nation the greatest example and savior to warring nations of the earth? Because the world learns more from example than from preaching. Words do not change history as much as living proof does. When one nation shows that it is possible to remain secure, possible to remain dignified, possible to remain independent without glorifying violence, then it lights a path for all humanity. It becomes a living message that says, there is another way, there is a higher way, there is a God guided way. And in a world exhausted by conflict, that example becomes a kind of salvation. Not salvation in the sense of control or conquest, but salvation through inspiration, salvation through awakening, salvation through reminding humanity that peace is not impractical, it is sacred. Today, many nations measure greatness by weapons, influence, and power, but Yogananda asks us to look deeper. Can a nation control its impulses? Can it choose wisdom over aggression? Can it protect freedom without losing its soul? Can it remain strong while still remaining compassionate? That is the real test of civilization. Because when a nation depends only on force, it may win battles but lose its moral light. And when moral light is lost, fear spreads, trust dies, and humanity suffers. The same truth applies to us as individuals. Each one of us is like a small nation. We also want to protect our identity, dignity, inner freedom. But how do we do it? Through anger? Through harshness? Through revenge? Or through calm strength, truth, patience, and love? The world outside is only a larger reflection of the war or peace within the human heart. So perhaps Yogananda's message is not just for governments, perhaps it is for you and for me. Can I keep my peace when others provoke me? Can I remain inwardly free without becoming bitter? Can I stand for what is right without hatred? Can I defend truth and still keep love alive in my heart? That is peaceful independence at the soul level. And maybe that is where real world peace must begin. A nation becomes peaceful when enough hearts become peaceful. A civilization becomes noble when enough souls choose conscience over conflict. And the future of this earth changes when strength and peace finally walk together. That is why this teaching feels so timeless because it gives us hope. It tells us that humanity is not doomed to endless violence. It tells us that greatness does not have to wear armor. It tells us that one people, one country, one awakened generation can become a beacon to the rest of the world. And maybe the world is still waiting for such an example. A nation so inwardly anchored, so morally brave, so spiritually mature that it proves peace is not a dream for the weak, but the triumph of the truly strong. So let us remember this wisdom of Yogananda. The greatest power is not the power to destroy, but the power to remain free without losing peace. The greatest victory is not over another nation, but over fear, hatred, and violence itself. And the nation that learns this divine secret will not only preserve its own freedom, it may help save the conscience of the world.